Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're plunging into something massive, a potential world-shattering shift in global power. If what we're looking at is true, then pretty much everything you thought you knew about 21st century geopolitics, it's already out of date. We are talking about a major, totally unexpected new player entering the highest tier of global security.
Yeah, our mission today is really to give you a shortcut into understanding what might be the biggest story that the mainstream media just isn't tracking yet, or maybe can't track.
Hmm.
We're digging into a highly classified leak, a document that seems to outline not just some future possibility, but maybe a present reality, one that changes the global security game overnight.
Right. The source material we've got is derived from a pretty detailed transcript. It's supposedly from a leaked document originating from the African Union's Supreme Security Council. And it's stamped with a code name that, frankly, sends chills down the spines of intelligence agencies everywhere. Project Atomic Dawn.
And the central claim in these pages is, well, it's absolutely explosive. It suggests that, for the first time, Africa has quietly, collectively joined the nuclear-capable club. But the really critical detail here is the framing. The document stresses this isn't presented as, an experiment or some kind of threat aimed at war. It's positioned as a bold declaration of sovereignty.
Okay, let's unpack this then. We need to figure out what this detailed three-phase strategy actually entails. What massive, maybe existential motivation could be driving the entire continent to take such a dramatic step? And what does the arrival of this potential seventh nuclear-capable bloc mean for the new world order that seems to be forming? This really needs a deep dive.
Let's start with the blueprint itself, what the documents reportedly call Operation Atomic Dawn. The source material we have pins the leak as intercepted from the AU's Defense Innovation Division. That's in Addis Ababa. And it's marked, apparently, with the designation Top Secret Level 7.
Top secret level 7. I mean, in Intel speak, that's not just highly sensitive. That often implies information that, if it got out, could cause immediate, maybe catastrophic damage to national security or, international relations. The severity of that designation alone makes you think, well, this could be real.
And what's fascinating here structurally is this one Africa government framework concept. This isn't, say, South Africa going it alone or Nigeria. It's presented as a unified continental strategy, building Africa's first nuclear defense and energy capability, leveraging the resources and collective will of potentially 55 nations.
That unity is absolutely key.
Yeah.
And the plan, as laid out, is broken down pretty cleanly into three phases. Phase one seems focused on the groundwork, resource acquisition and preparation. We're talking about uranium enrichment facilities already under rapid construction, reportedly in places like Niger and South Africa, resource-rich areas.
Right. Phase 2 then seems to handle the next step, the tech and infrastructure leap. It describes a research reactor program stretching geographically from Egypt all the way down to Kenya. And this phase is really revealing because the source explicitly states these programs are backed by partnerships with key BRICS nations. That alignment, that's a huge signpost for where global power might be heading.
And phase three moves directly into deterrence. This is described as the highly classified outline for a continental deterrence unit. And critically, it's continental, not national, stationed and commanded by the AU itself. The source suggests this unity is deliberate, maybe to ensure no single African nation can be pressured or targeted by outside powers to disarm.
Yeah, the core message for us looking at this is that it's presented as far from haphazard. It looks like a deliberate, coordinated strategy. Leveraging continent-wide resources, yes, but also international alliances specifically chosen to, bypass or maybe even challenge the economic and security leverage of the traditional Western blocs.
But hang on, let's inject a little skepticism maybe. Historically, any really large-scale unified project involving all 55 African nations. I mean, they face huge coordination hurdles, funding issues. Does the document address that? The political friction that seems almost inevitable in a plan this big, especially one that means abandoning decades of, international agreements.
It does, indirectly, by focusing on the catalyst. Why now? That's the big question it seems to answer. For decades, the continent largely stuck to the Plandaba Accord, the African Nuclear Weapon-Free Zone Treaty. To abandon that, it suggests they felt they were facing an existential threat.
Okay, and this is where it gets really interesting, isn't it? The AAU's stated rationale, according to this leak, isn't about becoming an aggressor. It's about establishing permanent balance. They seem to be arguing this is the only way to guarantee no foreign power can ever again dictate the continent's political or economic future. It sounds like a calculated move for absolute, non-negotiable autonomy.
And the source material is apparently quite explicit on the triggers. the specific events that pushed the AU to this point. They cite what they perceived as escalating threats, multiple Western militarization attempts near key sites, and we'll link this to the financial system afterward in a moment, plus highly aggressive drone intrusions and naval blockades, particularly noted in the Indian Ocean.
So they felt they were under sustained, coordinated pressure, surveillance targeting their core resources.
That seems to be the narrative. And the AU Defense Council's answer, laid out in this document, is the doctrine of permanent deterrence. That signifies a massive, potentially irreversible shift, moving away from relying on global treaties towards actively fielding their own collective defense.
They're essentially saying, look, we control our own destiny now, and we're building the power to protect that control.
And if we look at the tech involved, it's apparently not about old Cold War bombs. The Atomic Dawn blueprint seems to describe an integrated system, merging nuclear energy, space tech, and continental security all together.
Right, and this is where that dual-use technology becomes so important. It gives them, well, plausible deniability, doesn't it? The AU is reportedly focusing on things like miniature tactical reactors, directed energy plasma cores, and missile-grade fuel centrifuges. What does that actually mean in practice?
Well, it means the same advanced centrifuges you'd use to enrich uranium fuel for large civilian power plants. They can potentially be repurposed, maybe quickly, to enrich fuel to the higher purity needed for defense applications. Similarly, those mini tactical reactors and plasma cores, they sound designed for mobile, rapid energy deployment across the continent, essential for development, but they could also potentially be adapted for powerful directed energy defense systems. It looks like a structure built for energy independence that maybe conveniently also serves as a shield.
And their timeline. It seems incredibly aggressive. The document apparently outlines achieving nuclear autonomy by 2030. That suggests every major region should be able to produce and secure its own energy, but under a single, unified command structure. This really does sound like an energy project wrapped in a defense initiative. Or maybe vice versa.
And if you want the wildest claim of the whole document, the one that apparently sent analysts scrambling in Washington and Beijing, it's that insiders allege a joint reactor facility is already active, somewhere in northern Namibia, cleverly disguised, supposedly, as an academic energy research campus. If that's true, if it could be verified, Africa instantly becomes the 7th nuclear-capable bloc on Earth right now, changing the whole map.
Wow, okay. And that sets the stage for their longer-term vision looking out to 2035. The document mentions the One Africa nuclear energy grid, linking power plants from Cairo down to Cape Town. And this grid is primarily to be driven by small modular reactors, SMRs.
SMRs make perfect strategic sense here. Unlike massive traditional nuclear plants, SMRs are smaller, potentially faster to deploy, easier to secure. They offer decentralized power. Their widespread use could promise clean, maybe low-cost energy, and crucially, achieve what the document calls zero dependency on Western oil politics. This focus on energy security really seems like the bedrock of their entire autonomy strategy.
Okay, now let's shift to the fallout. The immediate geopolitical shockwaves this leak apparently created, the reactions seem predictably and sharply split, right down existing global fault lines.
Exactly. On one side, the West apparently erupted in panic. Reports of emergency meetings in Washington, Paris, desperate to figure out the scope of the intelligence failure. European leaders quoted as decrying it as a breach of historical stability, which, as the source itself, Riley notes, kind of translates to, how dare Africa have the same power base we used to dominate the world?
And it seems attempts by, say, France to renegotiate Niger uranium contracts or the U.S. to engage the AU through normal channels reportedly failed completely. The document specifies Africa is now only engaging its former colonial or economic counterparts through established BRICS protocol. That's a massive snub, isn't it?
Absolutely. And BRICS, conversely, reportedly celebrated the shift. Russia and China issued statements congratulating the AU for, quote, strategic maturity.
India and Brazil apparently offered engineering assistance almost immediately. It just reinforces that deep geopolitical split we've been watching develop for years, with Africa seemingly aligning itself firmly with the economic challengers to Western dominance.
But the real core of this, the financial engine driving this unprecedented spending and risk, it has to be the Afroworld connection, right? Project Atomic Dawn isn't just about defense, is it? It's explicitly framed in the leak as being about protecting Afroworld. Yeah, for listeners who need the quick version, Afroworld is the foundation, or the proposed foundation, of Africa's new financial independence. It's intended as a gold-backed currency system designed specifically to bypass the U.S. dollar's dominance in continental trade and to secure Africa's own vast mineral wealth.
And the document is apparently unambiguous here. This new nuclear doctrine is positioned as the firewall, the physical deterrent behind that digital currency system. Why a physical deterrent for a digital currency? Well, because the AU allegedly confirms sustained attempts by foreign intelligence agencies to infiltrate and digitally sabotage Afrold's systems right as it was being launched.
Right. The insiders apparently saw digital attacks, followed by military intimidation or pressure. Their response, as outlined here, was the doctrine of permanent deterrence. There's a quote attributed to a high-ranking AU source in the leak, saying something like, "The only language global bullies understand is power, and Africa is finally fluent."
Powerful stuff. Analysts are already calling this whole geopolitical shift the golden alignment. This idea that the BRICS nations, backed now by the industrial potential and mineral strength of Africa, are forming a unified counterweight to NATO, effectively collapsing the old global structure that was based on, what, 5 major nuclear powers, Africa providing the missing physical protection for this new economic reality.
And this is where we really have to pause and consider the comedy of hypocrisy cited in the source material itself. The irony is just, it's too thick to ignore.
Absolutely. The source points out, the very same countries that built empires off African uranium and minerals for the last century are now lecturing the continent on the dangers of enrichment. You see Western diplomats preaching morality about treaties while simultaneously signing huge, often opaque, arms deals elsewhere.
Yeah, there's an incredible quote supposedly from an AE technician who jokes something like, "We're not racing for bombs, we're racing for balance." Quote, "If that balance requires the technology that gives us zero dependency, so be it." That really seems to sum up the pragmatic, maybe unified sentiment driving this.
And that sentiment is apparently resonating deeply on the ground across the continent. Reports from cities like Johannesburg, Nairobi, Logotoi. The feeling seems to be that the continent is finally playing in the big leagues. You hear about students in Ghana celebrating Independence 2.0. Youth groups in Zambia marching with power means peace banners.
Even in South Africa, which, remember, voluntarily dismantled its old regime-era nuclear capability,
Right.
the feeling is different now, because this is presented as a collective continental decision, not tied to one specific government's ambition. It's seen more as collective self-determination.
And the final word from the leaked memo, supposedly standing out in bold red type. It's the ultimate statement of intent, isn't it? It shows the historical weight the AU leadership places on this. For centuries, they had the power to destroy the world. Now we have the power to protect it. According to the document, that's the turning point.
So to sort of summarize our deep dive into this alleged Project Atomic Dawn, Africa's nuclear dawn is being positioned internally, it seems, less as a countdown to destruction, and more as a countdown to total energy freedom and economic independence. The shift is framed as adding the missing weight to a global structure that's long been tilted against Africa's interests.
Which brings us to a final provocative thought for you to consider. Given the source claims the long-term goal is this massive continent-wide clean energy grid using SMRs by 2035. I mean, that's a huge, expensive, unifying infrastructure project. It represents Africa's fundamental future, potentially. So is the primary strategic function of this whole nuclear deterrence program simply to act as an insurance policy, to make absolutely sure that Africa's vital energy and economic transition, the establishment of Afrold, is never threatened, never sabotaged, never blackmailed by outside powers during its most vulnerable construction phase?
Think about that. Unity backed by advanced dual-use technology, serving both economic transformation and military security simultaneously. If these leaks are accurate, we might be witnessing the real-time rewriting of the global power hierarchy. And the sources suggest Africa is holding the pen this time.